Countless high-profile conservatives have come out against the continuing resolution proposed by Speaker Mike Johnson. Oklahoma leads the charge against Biden's DEI initiatives in the classroom, and the Van Zant brothers of Leonard Skinner and 38 Special fame will join us to explain why their latest album focuses on their Christian faith. We have those stories and so much more. Blaze News Tonight starts right now. Welcome to the chaos. I'm Jill Savage. Today is Wednesday, December 18th. Well, everyone in D.C. might be going on the naughty list because we've seen over 1,500 pages of the CR that the House put forth, and it's filled with things like a congressional pay raise and an Obamacare exemption for our elected officials. And Speaker Mike Johnson tried to justify it earlier today on Newsmax.
We don't normally like what's called a continuing resolution, a CR, but in this case it makes sense because if we push it into the first quarter of next year, then we have a Republican-controlled Congress and President Donald J. Trump back in the White House will be able to have more say over the funding decisions for 2025.
Here to break it all down is Matthew Peterson, editor-in-chief of Blaze News, and our Blaze senior politics editor, Chris Bedford, who's been explaining all of these fights in his latest Beltway briefing. Chris, it's interesting because we've seen an incredible amount of blowback to this bill online, and it's not just from lawmakers. Elon Musk is getting into this fight. So is the pressure now from the public square enough to make Mike Johnson go back to the drawing board for the CR?
Oh yeah, I think this is dead on arrival, and I have not seen this really happen in the 20 years I've been in D.C. or the years I've been covering this. That the Uniparty gets this kind of blowback. I mean, what the speaker said there was correct in some levels, and I've written about this and we've talked about this, that they were supposed to pass a CR that would allow them to have a funding fight again in March when the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, so that they couldn't get their hands tied on Ukraine, they couldn't get their hands tied on border provisions, et cetera. But this is not what they did. They ended up passing, granted 3 months, but a massive spending omnibus. And in order to get Democrats to the table, because they were kind of dispensed with a lot of Republicans, that they didn't even bother bringing the conservatives to the table, they needed to hand out basically Christmas gifts to Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and his friends. And the response has just been exploding since this finally dropped late last night. And now you've got Elon Musk, who is threatening to run every single day of the year, every year of the calendar, PAC that actually tries to have an impact on his spending priorities and what he's pushing for. Then you've got Donald Trump coming out with a statement against it. You've got J.D. Vance coming out with a statement against it. Mike Johnson is stuck in this mess in the first place, partially because he tries to please everyone. And that's not really a winning tactic when you've actually got specific constituents to put you there in the House of Representatives and then beyond them in the people. It's been a failure for him, but I don't see a world where Mike Johnson tells Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Elon Musk to take a hike on this.
No, I mean, how would he be able to go to the Army-Navy game and hang out with them on the plane if he's not able to do that? I guess my biggest question just off the bat is, how in the hell did you not see this coming? I mean, in other words, manage expectations. I mean, I can see an argument to say, look, this is not going to be so good, right? But here's the reason why I'm doing this. I mean, whatever it is, you have to get out in front of this. And it's just shocking to me that this wasn't predictable to the speaker.
There's no strategy there. I mean, the speaker and his chief of staff, Dan Ziegler, have been out there. I've heard one longtime Hill staffer send me a message asking if they were the worst leadership combo in history. There's no strategy. There's no outreach. They lost the support of their committee chairmen, who are not included in this. They didn't even really try to get the support of a lot of the more conservative members. The Democrats obviously have no real interest in seeing them succeed. But even then, I mean, you often do get away with these sorts of things. In Washington, D.C., you give everyone candy, you give everyone treats, you say we don't want a government shutdown, you go home. That's totally easy. It's business as usual. It's what happens every single December. Mike Johnson is happening to be speaker at a time when people like Musk are very vocal politically and are really on this Doge thing at a time when Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have taken on renewed interest in these sorts of things in a way that Trump maybe hadn't when he was president the first time. He got all these things came together, but honestly, it's more surprising to me that they got caught than that they thought that they were going to get caught, because it's so rare to see big government handouts just blow up in the face of the uniparty. Usually, it ends up being conservatives who get dumped on in these sorts of fights.
Yeah, we're talking about Elon Musk, and he posted almost 60 times earlier this afternoon. And he came out and said that any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. Now, Bedford, I want to go big picture with you, right? Because we look at Doge a lot on this show, and I think that we have been cautiously optimistic about what it could potentially do. Now, what does this say, though, when we see something like this and we see actual movement, and you said off the top you hadn't seen this in 20 years? What do we have to look forward to with Elon kind of sitting next to Trump and saying, okay, you know what, I can go out there and be your bully pulpit and make things happen and speak directly to the American people?
Well, this is an optimistic sign for those people who do want a smaller government. I also hadn't really been paying too much attention to Doge. It seems like kind of a classic project to keep a couple of major donors and influencers busy in a way that DC so often ignores. But if they end up taking a scalp in December before they're even in power, then maybe there actually is something here. I mean, we saw that the cutting craze and the primary craze of the Tea Party about 14, 15 years ago, and that passed. That went away. The voices who were still calling for spending restraint were somewhat in the wilderness. And a lot of what Trump's agenda has not really been shrinking the government. It's kind of similar to Ronald Reagan. He had a couple of objectives. One of the main ones was the defeat of the Soviet Union. It wasn't really the deficit. You started to get that later on with the actual cutting. And Trump was in a similar vein. But this was a show of strength that if you're one of those more small government libertarians, which is what Elon Musk has been repeating ad nauseum down at Mar-a-Lago. He keeps on telling people we need small government radicals. He says that over and over again, like it's a magic spell. Well, this actually was a fairly interesting demonstration of his power and his access to the president. Now, of course, once Trump's actually in office, and it's not Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer out there who are calling the shots, well, then maybe his tune will change when some of the things that he wants to get through happen. For example, when you need to get Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski to vote for your massive expansion of funding to pay for the deportation and border security, they're going to end up probably taking a lighter touch than some of those treats that they're willing to give senators and congressmen in order to get them on board with the agenda. But right now, this is a strong start.
So this thing tanks. What happens next?
I think everyone gets a little ticked off, but they end up probably with a clean CR, something that just continues government funding for right now at what J.D. Vance and Donald Trump just called for in a combined tweet, which is a clean CR that gets funding to hurricane victims as well as some funding to the farmers. The farmer thing might be difficult. Some of the money that was being sent to try and bail out struggling farms is one of the reasons they ended up in this mess in the first place. I think a lot of Americans are united in wanting to support disaster relief. They'll have to offset that with some costs. At the end of the day, I think they might end up with what looks a lot more like just current spending levels pushed forward 3 months, a delay to the kind of bailouts and help that they want to give to struggling farmers and struggling hurricane victims until Republicans are all here together in January.
Now, there have got to be a number of people in the House thinking to themselves, I should be speaker right now. What do you think this says about the Johnson speaker, reign? We've talked about this for a while in terms of timing. It certainly doesn't make him stronger. So how does that look?
I think it means more carve-outs for what he's going to have to give to different people, but he's stuck in a little bit of a bind here. The Republican Party doesn't really have an appetite for a speaker fight. They're exhausting. Mm-hmm. If Johnson makes some wrong moves by the end of this week, though, and loses support of Donald Trump supports a different speaker, then that could be a whole different scenario. But right now, in January, Trump's going to want it to be about him his new administration. He's going to want to spend all of the momentum that they have on confirming nominees, on working on his different agenda items, the border control and deportation being first among them. He's not going to want to waste any energy, any breath, any airtime on a speaker fight. But conservatives, for example, could make some concessions. Maybe put someone like Congressman Chip Roy on the Rules Committee, as head of the Rules Committee, give different conservatives different options. But how are you going to satiate people like Jason Smith, who's currently the chairman of Ways and Means? He's already got a chairmanship. He was promised that he was going to be included in any kind of negotiation process for an end-of-year CR. He was excluded. So you can't give him anything to satiate him. All you had was your word, and Mike Johnson spent that. He's in a tenuous position that will allow, if he maintains Trump's support, which I suspect he will, then conservatives can probably take a pound of flesh. But like you said, a week in speakership starting the year.
Well, Bedford, we have about 30 seconds left with you. This is our last show with you before the end of the year. Any final thoughts? Anything that we should be looking forward to?
Oh my gosh, are we wrapping it up? I can't believe it. Keep an eye on that. The number one game in town is going to be the nominees, and how exactly also they're going to try and deliver on the deportation and border security mixed with the spending and the tax cuts. That's something the Republicans are really going to have to figure out over the next year. But in the meantime, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Bedford's our best gift that we have here on this show. Thanks so much for joining us.
See you then.
Don't go anywhere. Donnie and Johnny Van Zant will tell us about the holy inspiration for their latest album just ahead. For the holidays this year, why not get somebody you love, or just yourself, a gift of comfort and style? I'm talking about the men's and women's pajama sets from Cozy Earth. And we all know that the holidays, like the best part about the entire holiday season, is that week in between Christmas and New Year's where you're just lounging at home. And Cozy Earth pajamas are designed for these moments of relaxation, and plus, they're stylish. Cozy Earth is all about turning your home into a personal sanctuary where you can escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And it's the perfect place to unwind and find renewal. So they're known for their outstanding sheets. I have them. I can tell you how great they are. And all Cozy Earth bedding products come with a 100-night sleep trial. You can still get expedited shipping until December 20th to make sure that it arrives on time. But don't wait. Go ahead to CozyEarth.com/Jill and use my exclusive code Jill for up to 40% off and give the gift of luxury this holiday season. It's CozyEarth.com/Jill, promo code Jill. And if you get a post-purchase survey, say that you heard about Cozy Earth from Blaze News Tonight.
Speak his name, he is always there. Sing it out, sing it loud, whisper like a prayer.
That is Speak His Name from Van Zant. The brothers are Donnie and Johnny. They're Southern rock royalty. Donnie co-founded 38 Special, and Johnny stepped up as the lead vocalist for the legendary Leonard Skinner after their brother's Ronnie's passing. But after 4 decades of rocking the charts, they're embracing another part of their lives, which is their faith. The duo, as Van Zant, has made their first new album in 20 years called Always Look Up. And they join us now to talk about it. In full disclosure, Johnny Van Zant is one of my favorite people, so I'm very excited to get to have you on the show today, Johnny. So what inspired you to create this new album and why?
You know what? Back during COVID in 2020, of course, the world shut down. So we were at home and we were like, okay, what are we going to do with our time? And me and Donnie just started writing songs and they came real natural. And, it's been on our bucket list for many, many years. And so this is kind of like the icing on the cake, to be honest, for us. And you know what? We've been through our ups and downs and our storms in life. I lost my oldest daughter. I'm going through some stuff right now with my youngest daughter. And, the only person really at times that I had to lean on was, of course, my family, but faith meant a lot to me and it still does, and Jesus has been there for me right now.
So give us a sense of the moment you see around you now, because what's remarkable to me is it just feels like kind of a turning point culturally, in America. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the cultural space. and it's kind of remarkable timing.
Yeah. Oh, you mean for this record?
Yeah.
Yeah, for this record, I think that we need a lot of good stuff to happen to us. And you know what? It's been a crazy since COVID. It's been crazy. You know, I mean, it's like the world's on fire at times, and we need to try to get back to loving each other and appreciating each other and caring about one another.
Yes.
Yeah, Donnie,
I'm not laughing. We're behind each other. That's weird.
That's all good.
On
No.
our end, it looks a little weird.
What's the reaction from the fan base that you guys have seen when you released Always Look Up?
You know what? It's unbelievable. I love reading the comment section, you know. So we have had churches, other churches, besides where Johnny goes at, High Point Church, that are playing Speak His Name, and there you are. So it's like Christmas time for us for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's been an unbelievable journey.
You know what? We've been over 1 million views on YouTube, #1 on the gospel thing, on the charts. It's been an eye-opening for us because it has been 20 years since we've done a record together. And it's totally different the way you promote them. And, you know, it used to be that you'd come out with one song and really go after it. And now we have different videos on just about every song, it seems like, on the album.
Now, you guys have, I mean, known musical identities, let's call them, for, you know, a long time. People know your music. What was it like to do this album? You know, was this like an evolution? How did it feel in terms of the past?
You know what? It's like Johnny was saying earlier. We just have a bucket list of things that we want to do together as brothers, you know, and this happened to be right at the top of that list, you know.
Yeah.
But there's other things we want to do too, also. But it's just been unbelievable.
You know what? We hope to be able to do many, many more of these. We got a list over here. We're in our little studio today, and where we cut some of these songs. And
Tell me the name of the studio.
oh, the name of the studio is called Saltful Water Studios. The water really stinks down here, but it gives good vibes out for creating songs. But
if you can imagine rotten eggs.
but we're having a great time with it. You know what? It's been wonderful. I think all Skinner fans are God-fearing, hardworking.
Right.
And if you're from the United States here, United States of America means a lot to us, you know, and our fan base.
Well, Johnny, I know it's the 50 years of Leonard Skinner, and I see you guys are going to be going over to Europe and touring. I want to know, is Van Zant going to be hitting the road together anytime soon?
We never say never.
Yeah.
You know, we went to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and we did 3 songs. We recorded 3 songs acoustic wise, and it actually felt really natural and great to me, you know. So we just might do it acoustic wise.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Donnie has hearing loss. He retired from 38, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and came off the road. And you know what? It's been a great blessing to have him singing on this album.
They had to talk me into it, guys.
Yeah.
You know, I have inner nerve damage hearing wise. So without hearing aids, I wouldn't probably hear you very well unless you scream real loud.
Well, we love that modern technology, and we love that everybody's stepping out into their faith. Johnny and Donnie Van Zant, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so
to
much.
see you.
Good to see you too. I'll see you soon. Tell Kristen hi.
Y'all be good. I sure will. God
Bye-bye.
bless.
Merry
All right.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. I love that they're just going out there and they're saying, you know, this is a project that we've always wanted to do together, and we're just going to do it. And the timing of everything, as you mentioned, just feels so right at this moment.
Yeah, I think it's an album people want and people need, and you know, just I love the creativity of just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, and it sounds great. I mean, I like the unplugged acoustic. Let's go.
Always look up. Go pick it up and go stream it wherever you have your platforms. But our next guest will show us how Biden has been funding DEI programs in schools. Coming up. Well, Well, this Christmas, don't settle for anything less than the best under your table, or you know what, under your tree for that matter. Good Ranchers is here to bring you the gift of high quality, 100% American meat that's sure to make your holiday unforgettable. And right now during their Christmas special, you can subscribe to any of their meat boxes or seafood boxes and get a free 10-pound spiral cut holiday ham to complete your feast. Whether it's going to be for your family gathering or as a gift, this is the kind of holiday cheer that everyone will love. And Good Ranchers has a brand new gifting page, because who wouldn't want a box of premium steaks delivered right to their door? There's no stress, no guesswork, just amazing food that's guaranteed to impress. So this Christmas, skip the lines at the grocery store and give the gift a flavor you can trust. Visit goodranchers.com, use my code Jill, and claim your free spiral cut holiday ham while supplies last, and make this holiday truly special with Good Ranchers. Goodranchers.com, American meat delivered. How can states fight back against the Biden administration's DEI agenda for schools? Oklahoma State Superintendent Ryan Walters recently highlighted what his state has done to combat billions of dollars in DEI grants, and he joins us now to break it all down. So, Ryan, how has Oklahoma pushed back against the White House and the DEI initiatives that they're trying to get in the classroom?
Look, look, they have been very aggressive with this agenda to get DEI in the schools. They started off by threatening us with lawsuits, threatening us to make sure that we allow transgender kids in the boys in the girls' bathroom, so forth and so on. So first of all, we stood firm and said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to bend the knee to these transgender, cultists here with this woke ideology. And then number two, the thing that so many states continue to do, even when they stopped against that, was they give you these grants and they say, do you want a math grant? Well, you just got to agree to embed DEI in a first grader's math class and make sure they know that, white people are racist, 2 + 2 = 4, and white people are racist here, right? And we said, look, we are not going to take $1 where you're attaching DEI programs, where you're attaching transgender ideology to it. We're not going to take it. And I got a bunch of flack from some of our weak rhinos here in the state going, you've got to take every dollar that they offer. And I said, absolutely not. We are not going to bend the knee to the federal government on these DEI policies. And so we were able to fight against them pushing boys and girls sports, boys and girls bathrooms, and we were rejecting any grant that had DEI in it or any other kind of woke ideology.
That's great, Ryan. I mean, it's a good example, and this is happening, of course, across the country. And what's most concerning is that in so many red states, where people presume that their politicians are on their side, they still take the money. Do you have other bits of advice that you give to people who are in government in these states? I mean, what's your platform for them? What do you say to them to encourage them?
Here's the first thing, to your point. What are you willing to give away for 30 pieces of silver? So are you willing to give away the complete trajectory of your kids, the future that they have for what, $1 million, $5 million? The reality is they're going to always continue to tie money to terrible programs to try to force states to do it, reject it every time. Number two is you've got to start developing things on your own as a state. Own education as a state. Make sure you are developing. I mean, I had people come to me and go, well, no, we've got to go to this. We've got to do this program. I go, why can't we figure out a program like that? We've got good teachers here. We don't need the federal government to do that. We don't need these left-wing national education associations to do those for us. We should do it for ourselves. And so we believe in federalism. So we brought a lot of those responsibilities and protocols to our state where we developed it. And then, frankly, with most of it, we give it back to the parents, because we say whatever we can do to give parents more choice, more options, more say in their kids' education, the better. So again, what you do is you reject all these left-wing policies out of D.C. Don't let them get you with attaching dollars to it. And then number two, get the power back to the states and diffuse it back to parents where God wanted power over their kids' lives in the first place.
Well, Ryan, we've been talking about Elon Musk on today's program, and we see him recently moving into education. He's been pouring funds into Ad Astra. It's a Montessori private school here in Texas. So what do you make of all of this and Elon Musk trying to jump into the education realm?
Oh, hey, we welcome Elon Musk into the education realm. I mean, he has been so spot on about this. Education has been completely subverted by woke cultists, where they have continued to undermine the basics of education. You're trying to get kids to learn. You're trying to get them to learn truth, grow their knowledge, and you're trying to help them get employed, get jobs that actually connect with their God-given talents. And again, getting back to the basics, I know that he's been championing some of these classical learning, charter schools and private schools. Those are fantastic. I think that the more that we connect kids back to truth, and the more that we connect them to understanding what is needed in the world to go get a job, what are the basics, what does a well-disciplined child, student, worker look like, the better. And again, so much of this is common sense, but education has so been dominated by woke elitists that common sense has been missing.
Ryan, you recently proposed a plan for the Oklahoma Department of Education to help crack down on illegal immigration. We have a little bit of your statement here.
We're announcing a new rule that requires schools to turn over information about illegal immigration. We will solve this problem. We will no longer allow sanctuary schools here in the state of Oklahoma.
So how exactly is this going to work? How will Oklahoma's education system help combat this problem?
So number one, we've got to end the practice of sanctuary schools. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Right now, every school in the country says, hey, we're not going to ask parents if they're here illegally. We're not going to keep the data. We're not going to turn it over to any state official in any capacity. Okay, so we can't find out how many illegal immigrants are in our schools. Again, we did our own study where we had a good number, and we understood that to be roughly costing our taxpayers around $474 million in totality around the state, educating the children of illegal immigrants. But look, we've got to know how many illegal immigrants are in each school, in each district. How much of a financial burden is that? We have to first get information around the problem to solve it. And listen, we're going to work with the Trump administration to, number one, get that data, get that information, and number two, to solve the problem by making sure that when we have the illegal immigrants in our state, they are brought back across the border. Parents are tired of hearing about fentanyl, seeing crime rates increase, and seeing their taxpayer dollars go to the families of illegal immigrants instead of for their children in the schools that they've paid for with taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, we love that you're leading by example on this one as well. So what do you want other states to do and to just jump in and join this fight that you guys have down there in Oklahoma?
Yeah, look, we are leading here on illegal immigration and how to crack down on sanctuary schools. Every state should require districts to ask everyone enrolled in the school, every single parent, are you in the country legally or not? Then turn that data over to the state, and then, like we are going to do, turn that data over to the Trump administration so that they understand and they know where the illegal immigrants are in the state. They understand the size and the scope of the problem. If President Trump's going to solve this problem, states have to lead in ensuring that the president has the support to fix this problem. And here in Oklahoma, we are absolutely going to do that with our schools.
Well, Ryan Walters, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for joining the show.
Merry Christmas. Hey, it's always great to be on a show that says Merry Christmas,
That's
right?
right. We're trying to bring it all back. Thanks so much, Ryan. We'll catch you next time. Don't go anywhere. We will give you the definitive list of movies to see this Christmas season. Next. Well, there's a nuclear blast that devastates Los Angeles. No, it's not in the headlines, but it is in Angel Studios' upcoming film, Homestead, and you can see it in theaters on December 20th. So there's chaos, and an ex-Green Beret is joining a prepper compound, and you can see all of this to bring a community together. And this movie is packed with heart-pounding tension and a story that cuts to the core of what it means to survive, because Homestead explores the humanity behind the apocalypse. So you can pre-order your tickets now for a chance to win a $300,000 giveaway, which includes one full Bitcoin, a fully furnished tiny home from BoxHouse, and a custom Polaris OHV by Sparks Motors, and everything else that you're going to need to start your own homestead. So pre-order your tickets now for a chance to win at angel.com/Jill. That's angel.com/Jill. We'll see you in theaters this Christmas. The holidays are right around the corner, and if you're looking for a movie to see with your family over this holiday season, Align's new movie guide has you covered. Here to discuss is actor and producer Matthew Marsden and filmmaker Vince Salerno. And Vince wrote this guide for Align. So let's start with you. Let's dive into what you think are some of the biggest films right now.
Okay. So the big thing that everyone's talking about right now is actually this weekend, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Mufasa the Lion King. So these are like the last two big tentpole films to be coming out this year. Sonic is riding off of, this is now the third installment in a highly successful franchise. Mufasa is a prequel to the live-action Lion King from 2019. A lot of fans are saying Sonic 3 is going to be the one that'll dominate the box office, and Mufasa, it might do a good, decent amount at the box office, but it's going to trail behind, probably.
You know, so the biggest movies of the year are a prequel to a movie that's been around for decades.
There's nothing new.
A prequel to the remake of it that was around in 2019. Sonic the Hedgehog is a video game that's been around for, what, also 30 years now? I don't even want to know how long. And that's the Sonic Hedgehog 3, right, coming out. So, Matt Marsden, what do we make of this?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a classic, like we said before. Like they go for the things that they try and think that these are going to make these movies successful, which is existing IP, for example. A built-in fan base is another thing. But if you look back at Sonic, so one of my friends was he worked with a producer on the first Sonic, and it's easy to forget that was an absolute disaster. Like, everyone was betting against it, right? It got the terrible, the Sonic that looked like this evil kind of thing. Horrible. Everyone was like, what is going on? You got Jim Carrey in it. Like, what is this weird thing that's happening? And then they turned it around, because it is Neil Moritz, and he's the king of Hollywood. Him and Jerry Bruckheimer, they're the kings of Hollywood. For those of you that don't know, Neil Moritz did all the Fast and Furious franchises, and he is one of the only producers in Hollywood that knows how to make a hit. So when all that bad press was coming around, he was like, I don't care. We got to get this out. We got to make it good. And he had a success. But like you said, Matt, this is number 3. Mm-hmm. Like, how much more juice are you going to squeeze out of that lemon?
Mm-hmm. Well, another movie that we have, it sounds like a new movie. It sounds like something new, Kraven the Hunter. But it's not, Vince. We're still going off of old franchises as well.
Yeah, it's actually the end of a franchise, technically. This is the, third, fourth attempt this year to do a Spider-Man franchise without Spider-Man. And Sony finally got the message, and we're like, you know what? Maybe this isn't working, so we're just going to pull the plug. Let's focus on what is working. The Spider-Man movies, the Into the Spider-Verse films. This is a box office disaster. And this was actually one of the more optimistic films coming up. People were really thinking this was going to be the one to be a hit with audiences and with critics, and it just wasn't. I mean, it's embarrassing to say that the Venom films, and those aren't even that great. The Venom films are the ones that are the crown jewel of that franchise, which isn't really saying much.
Yeah, again, I don't, how it's like finding the fringe and the crumbs off the table and then trying to resurrect them. There's no impetus or risk taking to create anything new. And that just, I think it bothers a lot of people.
What do you make of this?
Well, I think what they're all trying to do is what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy, because when he came out with that, everyone was like, Guardians of the Galaxy, like, this is some obscure Marvel, group of characters that nobody really knows. It's not really a big thing. And then it became this giant franchise. Again, it was 3 movies. The first one I thought was pretty terrific. I think he did a really great job, especially with the soundtrack. Like, it kind of reintroduced that soundtrack. We used to get back in the day, Jill, before you were around. No. She's like, I don't remember soundtracks.
No, the Bodyguard soundtrack. Are you kidding me? Very famous. Yeah. And then, The Lion King was a great one as well.
It was. But it used to be.
You can figure out how old I am based
there
on
you
those
go. The Lion
references.
King. You're like, I watched that when I was 4. No, but what everyone's tried to do is try and capture that lightning in a bottle, and that's what it was. It was lightning in a bottle. So what they're doing is they're going to, like you said, these fringes, because don't forget, Marvel has the majority of these characters. Sony has some of them. And so what they're doing is, okay, we're going to pick these fringe characters and try and make them into a franchise. And the problem is, again, you have to start with a great story. Now, they've got great actors in this. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I worked with him once. You got Russell Crowe, great. And actually, if you watch the original trailer, it was fantastic. There was a lot of optimism for it. And apparently, I have not seen the movie, but I have very good reliable people that I listen to and watch that have seen it, and they just said it's absolutely abysmal.
Perfect.
So it's Sony messing it up again. But like as Matt was alluding to before, what happened to doing great original stories?
Yeah.
And that's what we need.
Well, we had a great story. Lord of the Rings. Again, it's not going to be a new movie on your list, Vince. This is going to be a new version of a movie that we've already seen before. We unfortunately, they just don't want to give us anything brand new to break down in this one today.
No, they don't, Jill. This is War of the Rohirrim, and I believe it is taken from not the full appendices, but a section of the appendices of the original Lord of the Rings, where they seem to have like fabricated and made up.
That seems really deep into the Lord of the Rings fandom. Matthew had the look on his face, and he is like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah. So I don't know. The response has been a little mixed. I'm not hearing like overtly negative things. I'm hearing some people say, "Oh, it's kind of girl bossifying the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings," because we've already got that with Rings of Power, which the less we say about that, the better. But I'm hearing that some people are saying it's okay. It doesn't really shift the needle. I remember hearing about this movie years ago and thinking, oh, this is exciting. It's something new for the Lord of the Rings fans. They haven't really gotten a lot in a long time. And it's just kind of come and gone.
Oh, the Lord of the Rings fans have gotten a lot. They've gotten a lot of trash in the last few years. And this is at least interesting because it's animated, right? I mean, so it looks like, interesting animation. But I mean, this is like the ultimate version of what we're talking about, because you're taking a beloved book from the last century that sold, 1 billion copies or whatever throughout the world, already had movies about it, and now you're taking a section from the appendices to make an animated film, just hoping for some, can I touch the hem of Tolkien's garment and just get some of that magic again? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that the longer time goes by, the better the original trilogy is. It's unbeaten. It's unmatched. And the problem is what you had back. Well, the problem is now is that you've got a bunch of people that have come along and they've said, that old white guy, right? Because let's face it, that's what it's about. That old white guy, that Tolkien fella, what did he know? We really know the meaning of Lord of the Rings. And the absolute reason why the first one was such a success was that Peter Jackson said, I will respect what Tolkien wanted, what he wrote. And he just made, even he had to change it. You have to change elements of the books because they're so big. But even those changes now, I think that when they got criticized initially, Lord of the Rings fans now are like, please just change just as little as what Peter Jackson did. And you can still watch them now. Isn't it interesting that the animation and the special effects in the original trilogy are better than the ones in The Hobbit and anything that's come since? Is it better than the Rings of Power? Yeah. So leave it alone. Like give it just leave it alone. Yeah.
All right, now, whether it's on the list or not, I want everybody to go around and say what you are actually going to be watching now this holiday season. If you have a tradition, if you have a favorite movie that you watch every year, or if you're going to pick something new off the list. Vince?
Well, I have a 1.5-year-old son, and he's not ready to go to the movie theaters anytime soon. So if we go to the theaters, it'll be for date night, probably. We actually have to see Wicked. I haven't even seen Wicked yet, which has taken the world by storm. But no, we're probably going to rewatch some of our classics. Elf, Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation is like my wife's favorite movie. We watch it every year.
I like her already.
Yeah. And my father-in-law, he's like Chevy Chase incarnate. So that's a tradition that we have in our family. So we're going to do that.
What about you?
Well, I mean, as a family, this conversation has happened a few times in the last few weeks. We can't watch Elf yet. Wait, turn it off. It's on. We need to wait till
wait for the right time.
Actually watch Elf together. So that is one that we'll watch, and then I'll catch up on things that I need to see this full second season of Silo. Right? There's a couple there's series and things like that are out there that my wife and I have watched, and I'll use it if I actually get a week off and I take it. I'll use it to catch up.
I know that my family will be watching It's a Wonderful Life over Christmas Eve.
I want to see
What
that
about
again
you?
this year.
Darn it! I was like, didn't say
Yeah.
it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of
You're
course,
welcome.
it's a Wonderful Life. It's
Yeah.
the greatest, probably the greatest movie of all time, but it's certainly the greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Well, I'm glad that we agree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's half of the table. They're watching Elf.
He's gonna watch it. He's gonna go and watch Wicked.
Well,
That is
It's
wicked.
technically my wife who wants to watch Wicked. I'm just tagging along.
He's just doing it for informational purposes.
Yes,
Of course
yes,
he is.
I need to write a review.
I have thought
right.
this year. My family used to watch A Wonderful Life every year, and I sort of got sick of it. Right, I've seen it so many
Ow.
times. But now I actually caught myself the last few weeks saying I need to watch that movie again. Sometimes it's just a year. We're
getting older, Matt. We're getting
you-
older. You're
you
like-
start to identify with different characters.
You complete it. I see me in you.
You're walking. You're looking it down off a bridge. Anyway, it's a weird feeling.
our coworker Steve Dace always watches It's a Wonderful Life, and he always live tweets it. And Steve is a Protestant, and he was typing out Mary, Mary. Da-da. He about started a Christian war on his Twitter feed because they're like, "Why are you talking about Mary?"
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
It is the funniest thing every year, and we're like, if you know, you know. He's tweeting It's a Wonderful Life. But guys, thanks so much, and enjoy your holiday season. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Don't go anywhere, guys. When we come back, we'll be back to wrap up the show right after this. Well, we are in the Christmas spirit. We have our Christmas movies. Ryan Walters is out here saying, "Oh, I'm happy to be on a show that says Merry Christmas."
Yes.
And you know what? One of the best gifts that we might get this entire Christmas season. Tell me if we're actually going to win something in DC for once, because I don't know if we're going to be able to handle this, Peterson.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm not tired of winning, and the winning has just begun. And you can just sense it in the air before these. I don't want to insert expletive here. Members of Congress went to break. They just learned a little lesson that times have changed. Not the same.
I mean,
not the same.
you think that you can get away with a over 1,500 page bill. You drop it and then say, "Oh, we don't actually need that 72-hour rule. Let's push that to the side." And they were talking about potentially voting on it tonight.
Oh yeah.
And just trying to force this through. Like, "Oh, you saw some of it. Maybe you haven't seen all the terrible parts yet. So how quickly can we make this happen?"
Yeah. So I mean, as Chris said, that's because that's the way it normally works. But I really think that anyone who has a finger on the pulse knows that's not how it's going to work anymore, at least in terms of public perception. It boggles the mind that they didn't know that this would happen. I mean, that Elon Musk wouldn't go crazy, that everyone wouldn't look at the bill and say, tear it apart, online in the space of 24 hours and find all the disgusting, terrible things within it, 12 bio labs and, the DEI stuff and God knows what else. And so they have to expect that every time now. It's not the same world that we were living in pre-November.
No, and last night when the bill came out, I thought this was so interesting because now on X, if you use Grok, and you have for the generation, the images that we saw to save the cats, I mean, it was a very important thing that you did out there. But they also used
I
it.
don't even like that, cats.
But they also used it in an important situation here because when you have a 1,500 page bill, Grok was like, "Okay, break it down. 0 to 100 pages, 100 to 200 pages. What's all the crap that is in here?" Yeah. And then they could go back and kind of reverse engineer it and be like, "What page is that on?" Right? And then you go read it for yourself. But now, again, like you're saying, in DC, times have changed, and they're going to need to know that the American people, I hope that this continues. I hope we don't put up with this anymore.
I mean, for right now, people are paying attention because they just witnessed a momentous election. So they're not going to get out of this. And you have a number of very large figures. I mean, it's not just Elon, although he's prominent. You have a number of people who are out there, they're politically active, and they're adjacent to this incoming administration. And the craziest thing about this that you should think about going into Christmas, all the winning, Trump hasn't even entered the office yet,
Yes.
right? These guys we haven't even filled out all the positions in this cabinet yet.
Okay, so that's an interesting point because I was going to talk about Donald Trump, but you take it in a good direction because he's not even in office yet. We are winning already. Trump has been known to be a kingmaker, and he can kind of say, "Okay, these are the people that I want. Let's go get them elected." How powerful is he going to be? Again, we know he can't run and after this, but the first 100 days when he comes in, is this going to be a different presidency than we've seen in prior years because of as everybody says, like the mandate that's behind this right now, and everybody just feels a little different right now with the state of the country, and like it should go in a better, different direction.
Yeah, well, remember last time, I mean, if you go back on the Wayback Machine in your mind, remember, you still had Paul Ryan in there, and you had feckless Republicans who were talking about getting rid of Obama.
I don't want to go back there.
I know, but you got to, just for a second, just to feel how great it is now.
Yeah.
They were going to get rid of Obamacare, right? Which they never did. They passed one big corporate tax cut, which I was in favor. I was fine with, but that's all they did, right? They went and did the corporate thing for their masters, and that was it. This time, there is an agenda. There are people pushing that agenda, and it's not just Donald Trump walking in. They're not going to let Congress do what Congress wants. There's no Paul Ryan's wish list. This is going to be President Donald Trump's wish list, and people like Stephen Miller and everyone else, and a detailed agenda where they have a real wish list, and they're going to go to bat for it. So this is night and day from 2016.
Well, some of these people in Congress that we're talking about, they're supposed to join us at America Fest this weekend in Phoenix. We're going to be heading out there after the show today and having our next 2 shows before the Christmas break from America Fest. I don't know now. At this point in time, things are still completely in flux.
Yeah, I'm not
to see if anybody is going to make it there from Congress. But we'll survive if they make it or not. Either way, it's going to be a great time, though.
Oh yeah. So I mean, even if some of the best people in Congress can't make it there, that's fine. There's going to be an incredible group of people at America Fest. This is actually my first one that I've actually been to. I've been to lots of Charlie Kirk and Turning Point events, but I haven't been to AmFest yet. And so we're going to go, and we're going to, be wandering around, interviewing people and bringing them to the Blaze booth. And that's all so we can bring them to you.
Absolutely. And as we have talked about on this show, Frontier, there's going to be a big Frontier party for the magazine that's here with Blaze Media. And we're going to celebrate you guys and everything that you guys have done so far.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Frontier is amazing. It's getting out there, and a lot of people are really excited when you hold that magazine and realize, wow, this really is a different universe we live in now, a different frontier. But these things are all coming together. I think there's a lot of energy at something like AmFest now because look what Charlie Kirk accomplished, right? He was informing the president in a win, helped that win happen, and now he's making waves and has influence in a real way that wasn't even on the table before, right? And that is what you see over and over again. You see the leadership changing, right? The people who have influence, who are in charge, who matter when they say things, are all the people who basically agree with our audience for once. And so there's high hopes that, no, you're not going to get shafted this time in the sense that, it's happened in the past where a bunch of establishment leaders come in and do whatever they want. That the time it's changed. It's not going to happen anymore.
We've gotten so excited in years past, and we've been let down. I do hope this time it's different. I know. It may not be.
Hey, we're not going to be in this studio until next year.
That's right. 2025, we'll be back here, but we'll have shows from Phoenix for you. So if you want to go ahead and follow along, be sure to subscribe to Blaze News Tonight on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you from Phoenix tomorrow.